The mindset a property investor must have to be successful. In this episode of the Tailored Property Wealth podcast, we are breaking down the mindset that you must have to be able to build a multi-million-dollar property portfolio and get to financial freedom. My name is Casey Taylor. I'm the host of the podcast, and we're going to get stuck straight into it today. And the reason I'm doing this podcast is because there's a lot of people out there that just don't have that mindset to be able to get to the next step. And there's a lot of things that I see on as a common basis that really stick out that people need to focus on to be able to continue to build their wealth. And the reality is to build a big portfolio, you essentially need to be built different. And it is going to come back to mindset a lot of the time. There's going to be income restraints and that sort of thing when you're building a portfolio, but nothing is going to be more powerful than how you manage your mindset, because your mindset will make you solution-based to go out there and resolve those problems. And that is first off the rank today. Be solution-based with everything that you're doing with your property portfolio. It could be from a maintenance perspective, things go wrong, and how do you handle that and resolve that and not let it eat you up inside? How do you, when you have finance restrictions, how do you pivot and find a solution within what you can do? That is very, very, very important. So not just getting fixated on the problem, but we have a problem. How can we solve this problem to continue to move forward? That is crucial. And a lot of people with their mindset, once they're faced with the problem, they put the handbrake on, or they say, nah, fuck it, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it. There's always going to be problems in property investing. There's going to be problems in life in general, and it's how you handle it to continue. So have a problem, focus on the solution. How can you resolve that and continue to move forward? Now, the second one is the mindset to simply take action. And what I see typically with couples who we speak with, there's typically one person who wants to get in there and they want to build wealth. And there's one person that is very conservative and they're essentially holding them back to be able to continue to move forward and achieve those goals. They're more conservative. They don't want to take risks. They think it's risky to go out there and take action. And really to build wealth, you must take action and you must continue to move forward. So as a couple, for example, you need to have that conversation and understand what the decision you make today is going to look like in 10, 20 years' time, because taking action is going to dramatically change your future. Some people don't want to delay their gratification. They want to continue to waste their money and spend it on this, that, and the other, and not put it towards investing in their future. They don't want to take that risk, but the reality is they will get stuck in the rat race. They will continue to work to the age of 65, working away. You have to make decisions and take action that are going to change your future. Your daily habits today reflect what your future looks like in 5, 10, 15 years' time. And leading on to the next one is just take the action and do it. As Ronnie Coleman would say, ain't nothing to it but to do it. People talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. I see people that are the dreamers. Yep, I want to build a portfolio. They get short bursts of motivation and they're really keen to get in and do something, but then it fizzles away and they actually never do anything. And then 5 years later, they could have taken action, they didn't, and they're now paying hundreds of $1,000s more for that same asset. You must be disciplined. You must be consistent to be able to go out there and build financial freedom. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a grind. You really need to continue to be disciplined for a 5 to 10 year period to be able to make that meaningful difference. And then once you do that for 5 to 10 years, then you have to hold it long term. So you can't just dream about it and say, yep, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But then 3 months later, you stop, you're over it, and you just fall back into those same patterns. You have to continually take action, and it's not just a 1 to 2 year thing. It is that long-term play, especially for property. You're not going to get rich overnight. You're going to have holding costs. It's going to take time to really reap the rewards. But if you're 25 to 40 and you hold property for that 15-year period, it's going to really set you up for your future where you can have that financial freedom, where you're not slaving away, having to work and work and work just to try and set yourself up into retirement. Another one which I've touched on with being solution-based, not problem-based, but it's your mindset around finance and a couple of different pieces with finance. I see people who are like, yep, we want a borrowing capacity of 650 or 750. And then when push comes to shove, they go to the broker, they can't get that amount that they had in their mind, and they go, fuck, we should wait for 6 to 12 months to do anything. Or they just don't do anything in general because they can't get the amount they wanted. This is where, as a property investor, you must get the pre-approval you can obtain, even if it's lower than ideally what you wanted, and you pivot and you find a solution within that budget. The reality is that prices today are on discount to what they'll be in the future. You can wait 6 to 12 months, but you'll be borrowing more money for the same asset and you have to pay that off over 30 years. It's really find that solution, pivot, purchase something within your budget to allow you to continue to move forward. It's crucial. And leaning on to another piece in the puzzle of the finance piece is the interest rate that you're going to obtain. So many people want the lowest interest rate in the marketplace. And I've talked about this so many times in the past. You are not always going to get the lowest interest rate in the marketplace. But how you structure your finances, how you structure your buffer to absorb some of that shortfall that you'll receive if your rates are a little bit higher is going to allow you to continue to move forward. Many purchases that I made only just a couple of years ago, I had exorbitant interest rate because I was high risk at the time based on my scenario, and I had to cop that. But I've now made hundreds of thousands of dollars that I've leveraged out of those properties to purchase more property. You are going to have high costs, but that high cost will not outweigh the capital growth you will get in a 12, 18-month period if you're purchasing in the right locations. That is the reality of it. And that is that short-term mindset where you're just getting stuck on the costs. You're not getting stuck on what is this decision going to look like in the future. Don't get stuck on the costs. So many people do, and that is short-term thinking, not long-term thinking. It is super important to continue moving forward. If you want to build wealth, you're not always going to have the lowest rates in the marketplace because you might need to go to a second and third tier lender. And some people, they want to stick with the big four, but the big four won't lend them anything. But as soon as they go to a second and third tier lender, their serviceability opens up. They're allowed to continue to move forward and purchase property. And that is super, super crucial in this piece. It is so much of a finance game, and you have to work through that finance piece and find the solutions to allow the lenders to continue to lend you money, because the more good debt you can get into and hold that long term, the better. There's a couple of other things that are really important that as a property investor you cannot avoid, and that is negative sentiment in the marketplace. Over a 10, 15-year period, holding property, there is going to be the doom and gloom. There is always doom and gloom. Property prices are going to crash 40%. It's been a consistent narrative. You must accept that if you're holding for 10 to 15 years, property prices are not always going to go in an upwards trajectory for that individual property. There's going to be times that property might sit flat while other marketplaces continue to perform, and that's why diversification is important. However, when prices go back 10, 15%, which is a natural part of the cycle, you don't panic sell and go, fuck, it's going backwards. You have that long-term mindset, you hold the property and you move through that period. And if that property you've purchased and you've held that for 5 years already, it might have done 60, 70, 80% already. So when it does correct and adjust that 10, 15%, you're still far ahead of that purchase price originally. So you have to get comfortable with that. It's always going to be there. Another thing that is always going to be there is issues with tenants, maintenance, repairs. That is a natural part of investing in property and it is a con. However, how do you move through that and continue to move forward? How do you deal with the issues with that property? You may have some additional expenses, and how do you find a solution to manage your finances and refinance and extract buffers there for a rainy day when that happens? Your finance piece is crucial to help mitigate many of the cons in property. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to go out there and get their buffers in place and sometimes hold higher interest rates to be able to do that. It is crucial. Tenants go through things. They might have a breakup. There might be a death in the family. There are so many things that can impact how a tenant is, and they could be a great tenant for a period of time and they go through rough patches. How do you handle that as a property investor? The last one today is the mindset of timing the market. Everyone thinks, prices are going to go backwards 10, 15% and then I'm going to buy. And then it's 2 to 3 years later and they've done 40, 50% and you're paying more for the same asset. You need to go out there. One of the other points we mentioned is get your pre-approval, find what your pre-approval is, find a solution within your budget and take action. If you are purchasing the right property in the right locations, they will continue to perform and they're on discount to what they will be in the years to come. It is crucial. You must get in and take action. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. That is going to continue to move you forward. Find the solution, take the action, and then hold long term. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. You have to be disciplined for a long period of time. You can't get that motivation, peaks and troughs. It is a consistent game. And a lot of people, last one that I hear a lot, and when I hear this, I actually can't stand hearing this because they say, I do not have time to invest. How do you find a solution to make time to take the action and continue moving forward? I run a business. I am completing renos at home at the moment. I have young twins. I don't have much time either. And I still make time to continue to move forward towards my goals. I do not use I don't have time as an excuse. It's a bullshit excuse. Get up earlier. Stay up later. These are the sacrifices that you must make to continue to move forward. You can make time. It's about finding the solution to make time. People still make time to go out and sink 20 beers on the weekend, but they don't have time to put a couple of hours into getting their finances sorted, leveraging a professional. It's all just an excuse. It's harsh, but that is the reality. You must continue to grind and invest in your future. Saying you don't have time is just not good enough. Everyone has the same amount of time. Sometimes you just have to sacrifice here and there. That is the reality. That is many things you need to be a successful property investor. I hope you enjoyed this one. This one is crucial to be able to continue to move towards financial freedom. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.